75% of my people return year after year after year after year after year. That's guaranteed money in my pocket.
So tell everybody, so what was it? How did you do $45,000 in 3 days? So we're going to talk about how you did $45,000 in 3 days. Mind blown, you guys. I know, but wait till you hear. Please tell us the story about your store, Cyndi, and tell us where it's located and all the fun stuff.
Sure. So I am located in Massachusetts, in Franklin. It's a suburb of Boston. I have been doing this for 17 years now. Prior to this, I worked for a consulting firm, so I had quite a bit of experience in the business arena. And when I retired from there, if you will, I was 43, just wanted to do something different. So I decided to parlay my business skills into something that I love, which was quilting. And so now I have a sewing machine and quilting store. So a lot of fabric and supplies and classes and all around fun. We just moved last year from a 3,800 square foot building to a brand new space in a shopping center, which has been phenomenal for us. What a difference. What a difference. You know, in my old location, you forget what you don't have because it's all you don't have a choice, but then you'd realize the impact, you don't realize the impact it has by not having it. So not great parking, you know, that not great accessibility for handicap. I'm a quilt store. It tends to cater to a little older demographic. So handicap accessibility is a big thing. We do a lot of programming. We're always doing clubs and blocks of the month and Saturday programs. And
so how do you feel like it impacted your abilities as a retailer to have had that business background? What was the impact of that?
In some ways, in most ways, I'm really grateful for that because it taught me how to think about numbers differently. It taught me how to be more professional. I mean, I've learned to be a professional, but it also in some ways, as you know, kind of restricts me somewhat because I have this thing that everything has to be done professionally and perfect. And so sometimes that gets in the way of getting things done.
I think I certainly have found that to be really true in all the years I've known you, that, and I think that it really does help because you get people who come into this just because they're passionate about something and they're super creative, but passion doesn't pay the bills.
Exactly.
So it really makes a difference.
For me, it was always my business, never my hobby. And it was my livelihood. So I treated it as well. And I think that was having that business background really helped position me for that kind of mentality.
I always say that that's one thing that all the online business at Amazon and everything, sort of the favor that they did for retail is that they really forced the hobbyists, to get out of business because, because they just couldn't, do it anymore. So, whereas you've been able to stay and thrive, it's really exciting. What are you able to do with the extra space?
A couple things. I really focused on this. My space was being more handicap accessible. So it's easier. I have a lot of space, so it's easier to get around. There's wide aisles for people to get around in a wheelchair. We're a busy store, so there's a lot of space for people to move around and feel comfortable. I wanted really, really high ceilings so I could hang things up on the wall. Full, it's like an art gallery almost, full samples on the wall. And there's something else that I read a long time ago that said, when people are in spaces that have high ceilings, it generates more creativity in people. It makes them feel like they're more creative. And so that's one of my reasons for doing high ceilings and people absolutely feel that way. They feel like they can do it all. It's the sky's the limit. Really, maybe that's where that comes from. Wow. But so that was a big thing for me. I have 2 classrooms now. I have a repair center for my sewing machine repairs. I have a long arm business. I've always had that, but now I have 2 long arms going, in a big room. I have a full built out kitchen in the middle of my store because that's who I am. This is my home. For the most part. And I want you to feel welcome to my home. And if people sit down and we have a cup of tea, we always have some kind of treat, there. We make soup a lot. It just conveys exactly that sentiment that welcome, welcome. And people absolutely love it.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt, I also know that welcoming feeling that you inspire and that you share has contributed to not only the success of your store, but also to the success of your retreat. So tell everybody, so what was it? How did you do $45,000 in 3 days?
This is my 16th year
Wow.
of doing this. I knew that I wanted to have a retreat that really was special and treated people like it was a special event for them and they felt pampered. It's kind of like the Club Med of retreats where, you go in and everything is taken care of. So from the minute you check in, it starts on a Saturday at noon and it finishes up on a Tuesday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Mhm.
So all of your meals are taken care of. We have great space. I bring an on-site store for them to buy from if they forget something. I do, activities. We do a class, we do a workshop, we do a trunk show, we do a mystery quilt. I do a great gift bag, a great gift bag, for when they come. It's kind of a welcome.
Mhm.
I make homemade jam for everybody. As part of my retreat package for them. So that's something they get to pick up. I have all different flavors. So like I have blueberry lime and cherry almond and raspberry orange. And so it just, again, adds that touch of, welcome. And one of the things that I'm really, really excited about or have really tried to promote, I'm sure you guys have all been to events where they get kind of cliquey. There's little groups of people and they're not always the most welcoming. And I've just been able to foster a sense of, inclusivity with that group. And, I have 72 people who come to this and they are my long-term people who've been many, many years. They are all ambassadors practically, they welcome new people. They make them feel part of the group that, in fact, I think the majority of this time for this one that's just coming up in next week actually is the majority of people are coming as a single, not with their friends, coming as a single. And they've all made friends over the years. So that's that kind of environment that you create. And so they want to come and they tell all their friends about it. And I've got people that come from all over just because they hear such great things about it and they want to get in on it. I booked, $45,000 worth of business, for that weekend. So, and that doesn't include all the other extra stuff that they do, they buy from the store.
Where is the location? Where does it happen at? How far away is it from the store?
It's about an hour and a half. But what's really, really key for my industry is it's all about lighting and power. But you got to plug your machine in, you got to plug your iron, you got to plug your lights, all that kind of stuff. It takes a lot of power and a lot of light, good lighting. And most hotels can't accommodate that. So this is a conference center and a hotel. That's why I think I can do so much for them and provide such an experience, I also do chair massages. So it provides an experience for them that they don't get most places. If I'm going to go away on a retreat, I don't want to go away where I have to bring my linens or go out, 3 times a day to get my food because I spend so much time doing that and not enough time doing what I want to do, which is sew and connect with my friends. That's what I provide for people.
Yeah, I find that that's the biggest mistake that people make is that because we've had a lot of clients that have done retreats and not all of them have had the same degree of success as you have had for sure. And the most common mistake that we see at first is that people try to do it small because they're worried about charging too much and they're worried about, so how did you get over that originally? Is it all just from the background that you had?
I think I knew right from the get-go what I wanted to do, what I wanted to provide, and I stuck to that. So, and I knew that I'm not going to chase the lowest dollar. It's just too much work. And it's not the event that I want to put on. And if people who appreciate that and want to do something like that, they'll find me and they'll do it. When I started, I had my very first one, I had 42 people. I was thrilled with that. Very first one, 42 people,
Amazing.
And then I had about the same the second year. Then the third year, I went down to like 27. It was kind of a bad year around that time. I think that was right around 2008. I told the people who had been coming every year, look, I can't do this for this amount of people. So if you guys want to have the next retreat, you got to get your friends involved. And the next year I had 60 something and I've not gone below that. And now for the last several years, I've been selling out at 72 and I'm trying to get another room so that I can go to 96. The great thing that came out of the pandemic is that I've always wanted to do a second retreat because my customers have asked me to do it. My annual retreat has always been in March, but that they wanted something in November, October, November. And now because of the pandemic, a spot opened up. And so I took it.
Yeah.
And I was a little nervous because, but I got 38 people, I think, to come. So now I'm doing it twice a year. So if I can sell out both times, that's going to be 90 grand. Upside potential is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, huge,
Right.
ton of work, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I've also now done it so many years, I just reuse a lot of the, what do you call it, rinse and repeat
It's a
thing.
repeat. Yeah. How much do you charge for it? What's the ticket?
For a single, it's $6.79, and for a double, it's $5.79.
What I love about your boldness, about your vision, I want everyone listening to get that. That is really what drove the whole thing, because there are people who would be very afraid, who nothing in their stores is that expensive. And so they couldn't imagine charging that much. And I know for you, that's not true, because you also sell machines, but I love this idea that you've provided, from a service standpoint, is how I love it. You provide such amazing service to these people, and they feel so loved and welcome.
They do.
And that's why they're happy to pay the money. I mean, not everybody, for sure. There's people who can't afford to do it, and so that's fine. But that you've set yourself up to be able to provide this incomparable experience for them. It's just so beautiful. I really love that. I love all the different things you have on it. Have you always had that many different, like the mystery quilt? And I mean, when you were counting, when you were saying that before, I tried to count, and I think I came up with that there were 11 different things that you were doing that whole time period.
Yeah, the whole time.
Oh, you have. Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. It's funny though, when people, they kind of go, $6.79 or whatever, $5.79 or whatever. But if you do the math, if you figure it out, I mean, it's 3 nights and all of your meals, that's a damn good price. Plus all your activities. I mean, it really is. Now, whether you think you're worth that is, you got to decide that yourself. It's a value added service.
Well, when you described it as the Club Med, I mean, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Well, and knowing how great you are with branding and everything, tell me how similar to a Club Med, how you walk into that place and you're just surrounded by the branding everywhere. How do you continue your branding, like through the gift bag that you give them?
I've put in there things that I've had printed. So like I've had rulers that I've had my name on them. I do a gift bag and it has a label on it that has my name on it. When I do my jam, I have custom printed labels. Everything I send out or give them or handouts, everything I put my name over everything. One year I did like LL bean bags, and I had my logo printed on it. Every way that I can. I know someone last year suggested that I do T-shirts. What happens at retreat stays at retreat, or something like that. And then my logo on it.
Or what advice would you give someone who was starting out to do this and who was nervous about it?
I would say start with the end in mind. Think about you as a participant. What would you like to see and have involved, and what would be important to you? And then figure out a way to make that happen for your customer. And obviously I think we all I think the same thing is true when you're mystery boxes, right? You kind of go, oh no, that's too much. That's too much. That's too much. And the reality is you have people who spend it. Not everybody, but people who will do it. So the people that it's important for them will do it. So figure out where you want to be in that, pyramid of kind of what you want to offer, and then find a way to deliver that spot on every single time, because you will build your reputation and people will come and they'll return. I mean, I have probably 75% of my people return year after year after year after year after year. That's guaranteed money in my pocket. And then there's a little Fomo thing, when they start selling out, so they want to get in. Waiting list. I got waiting list.
I love how you also encouraged them to bring their friends, and how that caused your participation to more than double the next year. That's a beautiful thing too. And I think that's something that you don't normally think of doing as a store owner, because you're like, oh, I don't want to bug people, or I don't want to seem like I'm being too pushy. But because you own the fact that this is a service and that people love going, it makes you so comfortable to ask them to encourage their friends, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us where the name of the store came from.
Emma is my daughter, and you think she owns the place, and she just treats it like it's her. She's so oh, Emma. No. So it's really sweet.
That is really sweet. That's a beautiful story. All right. And so last but not least, tell me, what would you wish you could tell yourself on day one of your retail journey that you know now? What do you wish you could tell yourself?
I think the number one thing, I felt like I needed to know how to do everything myself, because God forbid I would ever, in the very beginning, I lost a couple of key people, and so I didn't know how to do what they do, so I was like, oh my God, I have to know how to do everything. That doesn't mean I have to do it all the time, but I just have to know everything. And looking back on that, I think that was a huge waste of my time because I can't possibly do everything and know everything. And a lot of stuff, if you don't keep doing it, you lose it. So what's the point?
Mhm.
So I think that I probably held my store back.
I read somewhere that that the most successful entrepreneurs and leaders are those that are the most self-aware, that you're the most aware of what your weaknesses and what your strengths are, and that you jump into your strengths like with both hands, you know, like you jump in like to what you're really good at, and you stay doing that in that lane, and that then what your weaknesses are is that you don't waste time trying to strengthen them. And I can absolutely agree with you that I wasted so much time trying to strengthen my own weaknesses and feeling like I had to do it as opposed to delegating it, you know. And then you feel like you don't have money to delegate some of the stuff, but then you end up making more money because you're doing what you're best at anyway, you know. Well, gosh, thank you so very much, Cyndi, for sharing your story. We really appreciate it. And and you guys, if you want more information about Cyndi's store, we're going to put her link below so you can check out all of her social media. I couldn't recommend enough that you signed up for her emails too on her website. We'll put her website below too, because she does a wonderful job with email marketing too. She really does it from her heart, like she does everything, which really is one of the key aspects of your success, Cyndi, for sure.